Hey guys, it's QuickyBaby and welcome back to World of Tanks. This time we're watching Tergy play in his Object 704. Now, this is not a fantastic matchup for the tank. A third of the enemy team are tier 10, and there are no tier 8 or tier 7 tanks, so to say. There are some light tanks on the enemy team that are tier 8, but those are really effectively tier 9 matchmaking waiting. So no soft easy targets for the Object 704. The reason why I say that is because this tank gets the BL-10. This is 152mm, capable of shaving off 750 alpha damage with every shot. That Conqueror will never know just how lucky he was. Getting hit by the BL-10 is an experience that you don't really want to happen to you too often. As that AMX 5120 just found out. There goes a tier 9 French heavy tank from the enemy team. 743 damage and a huge resulting fire that quickly ticked for 399. What did I say? The Conqueror now knows how lucky he is. That would have sounded like a very meaty ricochet off the top of his vehicle. Tergy must be cursing his luck right now. And that one went a touch too high as well. At these kind of ranges, the Object 704's aim time is certainly not remarkable, and its accuracy is very mediocre. But when it hits well. We'll never know if that shell goes in until the end of the game. We'll take a look for the health of the Speerpanzer in the back chat later. So Tergy must be thinking about Serb Derp. Sorry about that. Tergy puts in a good hit into the WZ-132 there, taking off 762 of his hit points, and it looks like he narrowly missed a shell from... Well, I guess there's no artillery on the enemy team, so it could have been anything. It looked like that was a high explosive shell, however. Now Tergy sees the IS-8. He tries to sneak a shot over the rock, and it was a millimeter away from hitting that tank. Now, even though the caliber of the gun on the Object 704 is so high, the reload is not bad. It's a lot better than tanks such as the T-30 or its bigger brother, even the T-110E4. Wow, that one went right in. Even though it didn't go anywhere near the center of the aiming circle, it still went through the IS-8's turret, taking off nearly 800 hit points. No way. How did he loop? He literally looped that shell through a gap. What a fantastic shot. Tergy is in the house right now. Oh my word. That certainly makes up for those first 3 narrow avoidances by the enemy team. And just check out how much punishment the 704 has been able to do. 3,500 damage nearly in the first 3.5 minutes of the game. And that's with him getting unlucky. If only he had managed to hit that Speerpanzer, or even one of the shells penetrated the Conqueror, or the first one even hit him, he could easily be up to 4, even possibly 5,000 damage. Now, Tergy spots an M46 pattern. This is the tier 9 American medium tank, and it thinks it is doing a fantastic ambush here. But it is not the one who is doing the ambushing. Tergy hits the M46 pattern in the tracks, taking them clean off and removing most of the tank's hit points. Thankfully, the great rate of fire on the Object 704 enables him to take him out before he gets around the corner. Now, if Tergy had been a tank such as the T-30, he definitely would have had the rate of fire to be able to do that. Same thing with the T-110E4, believe it or not, but those tanks do get a rather poor rate of fire for their rather large guns. I don't know what the rate of fire is on the Waffenträger auf Panzer IV if you elect to use the 150mm. Something I'll have to look into. But all you really need to know right now is at this roughly 3.5 rounds a minute rate of fire on the 704 allows it to pick apart its opponents very quickly indeed. And when it hits the target, it still has 286 millimeters of penetration, meaning it can get through the thickest of armors even with its standard rounds. So Tergy decides to come back over to the east to try and stop this Batchat from advancing. It's a good move. He thinks that his team will be okay up north, and he can't allow himself to get flanked by the Batchat or even the IS-8. However, one thing I will say is that Tergy doesn't seem to have very good view range on this vehicle. The 704, I think, had its view range nerfed in patch 9.6. I think most of the tank destroyers are at tier 9, maybe lost 10 to 20 meters. I don't know exactly for the 704, but I'm really noticing just how short his view range is here. This might be down to the fact that he's not using binoculars, and he's not using a camo net as well. Two things that I would fully recommend are using on the 704, but only after you get 6th Sense. Well, at least the camo net. Definitely get binoculars, but wait until you've got 6th Sense to use the camo net, because then you can take more chancy shots where you possibly might get spotted, and you need that little bit of security to know if that's the case or not. So Tergy expects that he's going to spot the STB-1, but due to his poor view range, the STB-1 was able to go from here to here undetected and flank his allies. If he'd been using binoculars, he would have probably been okay and spotted the STB-1, possibly taking him out before he got to his allies and flanked them. However, Tergy pushes forwards and catches the Batchat, ill-prepared, sets him on fire. The second one in the game, 1,108 damage done, taking out a tier 10 medium tank. His team are just wilting away right now. Those E-75s are surrounded by medium tanks, and there's very little that they can do. Tergy's waiting for the IS-7 to come around the corner, as unfortunately the final E-75 dies. 5,800 damage and 1 versus 6. Including 3 of those 6 tanks being 1 tier higher, and the rest obviously equal tier as all of the light tanks have been removed. Now this is a serious Kolobanov's medal entry. Most of the Kolobanov's medals that you see will be where they're higher tier than their opponents. There goes the STB-1. Well predicted by Tergy, taking out statistically the strongest player on the enemy team, who has already got a top gun this game while he's not claiming Tergy's life. He can see the enemies advancing through the rubble, so he pushes forwards to get the ambush shot off. Fantastic play there, using the knowledge that the IS-7 was giving him. Tergy repairs his tracks, and because he repaired his tracks, he has enough health to absorb one of the shots from the Object 140 into the tracks without detracking him. And that enables him to rush forwards and claim his 3rd tier 10 tank in a row. The alpha damage on the Object 704 really coming into play here. That was a really nice roll. 885 damage, but I think even if he hadn't rolled that high, he would have probably been able to ram him to death. He pushes through another building and takes down the Centurion 7-1. And now a near, well, a 77% health E-75 appears as well. The E-75 is trying to flank him. Tergy fires a shot that seems to go straight through the turret of the E-75. Well, he wasn't even aiming anywhere near the turret, but he was on the move. The E-75 is trying to flank him, but thankfully his track traverse is good enough to enable him to turn to the side and get his 3rd fire of the game. Oh my word. That's justice for the initial low roll. On average, the Object 704 should have done 1,500 damage with its 2 shots there. Before the fire, he had only done 1,443. Great hit into the back of the E-75. When you penetrate with these large caliber guns, like on the Object 704, and you're going to be doing lots of module damage indeed. What a fantastic engagement that was. That's a prime example of the enemy team being overconfident. They thought, we got 1 versus 6. He's only a tier 9. Let's go in and clean him up. And Tergy stood his ground excellently, prioritizing the enemy tanks one by one perfectly, playing aggressive when he needed to play aggressive, and thankfully still having his repair kit. Without that repair kit, he would have undoubtedly lost the game. The Object 140 would have just put round after round into his side. And I guess the Centurion 7-1 that he was dealing with would have tag teamed him from the other side as well. But it's not over yet. Tergy had to use all of his hit points, apart from 45 of them, to get through that situation. And one of the best things about the Object 704, a lot of people go, oh well, why should I play the Object 704 rather than the ISU 152? The guns are more or less the same, just slightly better performance on the Object 704. And that's because this tank has got hit points, 1,600 hit points. That's just under 600 more than the ISU 152, which I think gets like 1,000, between 1,000 and 1,020. And so getting that 50 or 55, even 60% more hit points, with just stepping up 1 tier, can give you what you need to weather a storm and come through tricky situations. Not to mention the fact that the Object 704 has fantastic 120mm armor, which is very well angled at the front. And pretty good side armor as well, which is designed to ricochet. Now it's very obvious where the enemy IS-8 is, although not directly inside the cap circle where he could be. Tergy pushes forwards, spots the IS-8, snapshots him, and blows his head clean off. Headshot. What a fantastic game for Tergy here, ending it in true showman-like style, blowing the head clean off the IS-8. He really made a fantastic base defense here, making this his playground of death, outplaying multiple skilled opponents in higher tiered vehicles and equal tiered vehicles, and eventually finding the right position to finish off the game in style. Tergy, thank you so much for this replay. It had it all. It had dramatic moments. It had moments of, I was completely astonished when you looped that shell over against, I guess it was it this IS-8? It must have been this IS-8 at the beginning of the game. And also bewilderment at how you managed to take on 1 versus 6 in such a poor matchup and win the game. Congratulations, and thank you so much for sending me in this replay. So, Tergy got the Radley-Walters, the high caliber, and the one that everyone wants, the Kolobanov's medal. And congratulations for picking up your first Mastery Badge Ace Tanker. I don't think you've got a very experienced crew in this vehicle, considering you don't have 6th Sense yet. So you must have mastered it pretty early, because I've never seen a game that good in the Object 704. This was 2,026 base experience for 9,563 damage for Tergy's 8 kills. Tergy hit 80% of the shots that he fired, and of those, 14 penetrated. He did get quite lucky with his fires this game, but the ammo rack at the end was pretty much irrelevant. It would have killed him anyway. And you even managed to net yourself a tidy profit, even with all those shells that you blind fired. Congratulations to you, Tergy. This is a fantastic replay. So if you guys enjoyed this replay, please consider giving the video a like down below. It really helps the channel out. And if you want to see why, in my opinion, the Object 704 is probably the most well-rounded Tier 9 tank destroyer, then simply click up here and you can go through to a full tank review on the vehicle. And let me know down in the comments below which is your favorite Tier 9 tank destroyer and why. And as always guys, thank you so much for watching. You've been epic, and hopefully I'll see you soon.